Kenny Omega, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, and even Don Callus caused a lot of confusion for a lot of wrestlers on AEW Dynamite. We also have the emergence of Sting and Darby Allin as a team. Are they going to be going up against Team Taz in the streets? And what happens when the Inner Circle winds up fighting each other? We're going to talk about that today here on the Rantin Review. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. I'm so touched every day that you guys watch one of my videos because it helps the channel grow back up to where we used to be. Of course, nothing is ever where it used to be, so we're going to move forward. But before we get to talking about Dynamite tonight and other various topics that are going to be related to it, I want you right now to give a Judas effect to the like button, to the subscribe button, and to that notification bell. Just back your elbow right into it, knock it out, get the win, and help the YouTube algorithm because it's YouTube and that's what they want you to do. On to the show, however, we started off with a couple of different little scenarios going on. I'm just going to jump around to the things that stood out most to me. And first and foremost is this continuing saga with Darby Allin and Sting against Team Taz. Now, Darby Allin and Sting were sitting in the ring. They were doing an interview with Tony Schiavone because, you know, Schiavone always has to go, "It's Sting!" I can't even do it. The way he does it it's Tony. It's only something that Tony can do. But the two of them were confronted on the big screen by Team Taz. Taz laying out a challenge, talking about how they were tougher pretty much than the two the resident goths of AEW, Sting and Darby Allin. The challenge is made. Darby Allin's going to respond. Sting kind of whispers in his ear, and Darby goes, "Hey, you don't know if you want to meet us on the streets. You might not like it." And that means to me that there's going to be some sort of cinematic going on, which is perfect because Sting, at his age, a lot of people have been wondering, you know, is he going to be able to wrestle? I think they're going to take a page out of WWE's playbook with The Undertaker and probably only have Sting perform in these kind of cinematic things. I don't think he can take a bunch of bumps and do a bunch of crazy stuff and fly over the top rope like he used to and all that stuff, but I do think if you put Sting in a cinematic with Darby Allin against Team Taz in some sort of street fight or back alley brawl or whatever it's going to wind up being, that could be interesting and a great use of Sting and getting Sting's character associated with Darby Allin's character, thus lifting up Allin. We found out a couple other announcements during this show. They've got their Beach Blast show, which is now going to be featuring a main event because of an attack that happened later in the night of Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Kenny Omega, originally going to go up against the Triad, the team that Pac leads with Penta and Phoenix. However, what happened during the course of the show would lead to that match changing. The Young Bucks try to go to Kenny Omega's house to talk to their former friend, and they, of course, are talking to Don Callus with a very homoerotic picture in the background of Don Callus and Kenny Omega all oiled up with muscles and stuff. It's a funny tongue-in-cheek segment. I like the way everybody performed it, and the ending with the Bucks threatening to beat up Don Callus was pretty cool. I also like the little jab that they took at Impact, which I'm surprised, you know, this was Jeff Jarrett and Dixie Carter, they wouldn't allow all of these jabs because they're basically, in this entire feud, whether it's on Impact shows or on AEW shows, they're kind of treating Impact like the whipping boy, the redheaded stepchild. And even in this segment, you know, the Young Bucks talking about the money that Don Callus was trying to offer them up in order to, you know, do Kenny Omega's bidding, or more like Don Callus's bidding. And the Bucks looked at it like, we make that in a week. You forgot you were merch guys, you know. So yeah, the Bucks ain't hurting for money. But the last little bit when they said that we used to work for TNA, we know that their checks aren't worth anything. It's they've really cranked it up on the smarmy, nasty, greasy, dirty level of Don Callus, which is absolutely perfect because it fits so well with the way he portrays the character, and Kenny Omega being this delusional, cleaner version of himself right now. It's working pretty well for me. I'm definitely enjoying it. We also find out that Cody and Shaq's thing is still not over, so Cody, the man of a dozen feuds, is feuding with multiple people at the same time. We're going to be bringing back the Shaq thing because Cody's going to be addressing what Shaq said, which I don't really remember what Shaq said about it outside of a little thing with Brandy, but I mean, maybe that's what they're talking to. But It really hasn't hit the news cycle because they haven't been that consistent with it. But, you know, we'll see what happens next week if this is some big lead-in, because Revolution is coming up, their next pay-per-view, at the end of February. So we're going to start seeing a lot of those matches being made up as of now. Another really key spot tonight was an interview, or actually a backstage promo, with FTR and Tully Blanchard, in which they were talking about being the #1 contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And then the #2 contenders, Jurassic Express, came in. But that all led to Jungle Boy, yes, himself, challenging Dax to a singles match, a one-on-one match, which I like this. This is, again, very classic old school booking. It's timeless. It never grows old. You get the younger guy taking on the more experienced veteran, and the younger guy has to show himself in that match. Now, nobody's expecting Jungle Boy to win this match next week, but again, this is helping to build him up as a character, and of course, you're going to get a lot of sympathy from people for young Jungle Boy to take on this hardened, grizzled veteran who's kind of treating him like, you know, nothing. So that's a good ploy that they're using. Another one of those old school wrestling tricks is Miro's now on the first week of his 30 days of having Chuck Taylor, Chucky, as his butler, his young boy. They were involved in the Penelope Ford match. Tell Miro's just having the time of his life. He's just enjoying his promos, enjoying his skits. I know a lot of people think he should be in a more serious role and a more prominent main event role, but it looks like he's doing what he wants to do. So I think as of right now, that's important. But they've also made it a point to make him look like this giant monster, especially in that Battle Royal a couple weeks ago. So Miro is a force in AEW. He just has yet to be unleashed, and there really isn't any room for him in the main event scene right now. So it's good that he's got something that he enjoys to do while we wait to see later in the year, possibly, him move up into some of the more elevated title matches and main event spots. Of course, also we've got the Private Party, and along with Matt Hardy, that saga's continuing with Matt Hardy trying to turn Private Party to the dark side. Looks like he might be succeeding after the 6-man tag match we had with Matt Sydal and Top Flight. A great high spot match, probably one of the more enjoyable matches of the night. Lots of action going on. In the end, it was Private Party cheating, using a chair to the ribs and a splash, and it looked at first as if they were kind of shocked, but then they kind of got the evil look on their face, and they're like, yes, this feels good. And they wound up winning the match, cheating to win, and it looks like they are prepared to take on, and they're going to have to do this because they're going to be taking on Gallows and Anderson for the Impact Tag Team titles. It's a big match for these guys, for these kids. I mean, these kids are getting a massive. You're working against Gallows and Anderson with Matt Hardy in your corner. I mean, you get James Storm. I mean, they're getting some of the best tag team workers in the business of this era to rub shoulders with. I mean, if you're Private Party, hopefully those kids are sucking up as much information as they can out of these guys, because again, they're working with some of the best in the business right now. In the main event, which is the one I was looking forward to the most, it was the Inner Circle. Well, 6 out of 7 members of the Inner Circle split up into 3 tag teams, having a match, a 3-way, to decide who is going to be the tag team and go on to challenge for the tag team titles. So this is setting up for the Young Bucks. And again, I like the way that they kind of interspliced everything this week. There's a lot going on in AEW. I haven't even touched on, you know, Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston and a bunch of other stuff going on, the women's division. But, you know, with the winner of this match most likely going to face the Young Bucks either at this Beach Blast thing or maybe even later down the line at Revolution, it was an important match. Plus, we're all waiting to see this MJF thing blow up in everybody's face. Now, there was a promo in the locker room before where MJF was kind of trying to rally the troops, and you can see him slowly turning them around and turning them to his side, and Jericho kind of being oblivious of all of this. One big scary part in the match, though, almost made this feud not even happen anymore. I used to do YouTube videos with on his channel, Coco Sports. Dave Coco has said there's a very famous injury that happened, and he's been very afraid that Jericho's going to injure himself with the same move. And, you know, being near 50, I mean, Minoru Suzuki isn't doing this stuff, you know. So I think it might be that time, as much as Jericho struggled, and I was scared he was going to break his neck tonight, as much as he struggled with doing the Lion Salt tonight, which usually he does well, it may be time to think about retiring that move. He doesn't need to do it anyway. He's much more of a compact bruiser fighter type now than he was the cruiserweight that he was in the past 20 years ago. So he doesn't need the lion salt, and I'd rather him get rid of it than hurt himself in the ring. I definitely don't want to see that. But otherwise, this match itself was entertaining. There was stuff going on all over the place. You had little interfaction feuds. Jake Hager got his big moment where he got to go up and just basically wreck the entire crew except for Wardlow, who was outside the ring. You had Jericho trying to cheat. You had MJF trying to cheat, and it getting thwarted at every single turn. But ultimately, it was MJF with a small package on Sammy Guevara, who I think for the 18,000th time we've heard is just like a young Eddie Guerrero. Maybe not, but he lost the match to MJF. MJF and Jericho winning, and now are the official tag team of the Young Bucks, and I think of the Young Bucks of the Inner Circle, who will be going on to face the Young Bucks for the World Tag Team Championships relatively soon. I think that match in itself is going to be kind of where we start to see the big cracks, and so because they've been teasing it for the past 2 months. I think we're going to see it kind of really take a leap forward with MJF taking over the Inner Circle. We all know that's where it's going. They've even addressed it as part of the kayfabe that, MJF's mad at the fans saying that this, and how dare they say this. I am here to be a part of this team of Chris, and Chris is my friend, and blah, 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 blah. But ever since they paired these two up, it's been great. I wasn't a big fan of the show tunes thing, but a lot of people were, so, I'm not going to, fault them for that. Everything else I've absolutely loved about this whole storyline with MJF and Wardlow entering the Inner Circle, and MJF trying to be the stake to weave his plan to take over the group for himself and oust Y2J. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think we're getting there pretty soon. One last little note, JR has been better on commentary the last few months, but I don't know if he had something a little bit extra in his cup, or the barbecue sauce didn't really reduce all the alcohol when he cooked it today, but he sounded I'm not going to say JR was drunk, but he was extra snarky tonight. He was all over the refs, since he's always over the refs, but he was, and then near the end of the show, you could tell he was it just sounded like he was disingenuous with hey, yeah, somebody tell me, does anybody know what's going on? It sounded so fake. I don't know. I mean, I may be assuming a lot of stuff here, so I'm probably not going to go any further with this, but I don't know what's going on there. But to me, the impression I get is that JR really isn't into this stuff, and he's just there to get a paycheck. And the snark that you hear, and even the secret quote-unquote leaked video of him talking between commercial breaks on Dynamite, it just sounds like he's coming across as grumpy old man. I don't know. I hope he was better for months. He's been good from the last half of last year up until a couple weeks ago. He's been really good. It seemed like he was into it. He was really adding flavor. He was doing what we expect JR to do as a color comment, as a play-by-play guy, adding flavor. He's kind of more color now, adding flavor to the show. Overall, this wasn't the best AEW Dynamite that they've ever had, but it was a good enough show that you can get some entertainment out of it. I'm not going to put it up there with one of the best shows that they've done. Or even this year, or not, I shouldn't say this year, even over the past 3 months, they've done much better shows than this that were far more exciting. So, but we're getting into that point now, and AEW has had this tendency is that the closer they get to a pay-per-view, the better the shows get. So over the next month, I expect the shows to be a lot more exciting than they have been the last 2 weeks. But by no means a bad show, definitely, but it was an average edition of AEW Dynamite. I want to know, however, what you guys felt about it that watched the show. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. What do you think we're going with this MJF Chris Jericho thing? Do you think he's going to be able to take the Inner Circle away from Jericho, or are they going to throw us a swerve? What's going on with Darby Allin and Sting against Team Taz? Are they going to be doing a cinematic match with that? And this whole thing with Omega, do you like the kind of slimy? I mean, this is like the cleaner 2.0. It's a lot of the kind of unsettledness I get from watching him that I remember from watching him back in 2016 in New Japan when he was a junior. So I don't know. Let me know about that stuff. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, we've got other videos to talk about. We'll be talking about Kenta and Jon Moxley later this week, and there's some news coming around with that may or may not mean anything, but we'll talk about that in the rumors. But until then, Again, hit the subscribe button so you can get notification when that video comes out, and I will see you guys in the future for more news, rumors, and reviews here on the Rant and Review. Have a good day.